Playing the husband. About the time of my marriage, little pamphlets costing a pie, I now forget how much, used to be issued, in which conjugal love, thrift, child marriages, and other such subjects were discussed. Whenever I came across any of these, I used to go through them from cover to cover, and it was a habit with me to forget what I did not like. We all do. And to carry out, it was a habit with me to forget what I did not like and to carry out in practice whatever I liked. Lifelong faithfulness to the wife inculcated in these booklets as the duty of the husband remained permanently imprinted on my heart. Furthermore, the passion for truth was innate in me, and to be false to her was therefore out of question. And then there was very little chance of my being faithless at that tender age. Right? But the lesson of faithfulness had also an untoward effect. If I should be pledged to the faithful, to be faithful to my wife, she also should be pledged to be faithful to me, I said to myself. The thought made me a jealous husband. Her duty was easily converted into my right to extract exact faithfulness from her. If it had to be exacted, I should be watchfully tenacious of the right. I had absolutely no reason to suspect my wife's fidelity, but jealousy does not wait for reasons. I must needs be forever on the lookout regarding her movements, and therefore she could not go anywhere without my permission. They sowed the seeds of a bitter quarrel between us. The restraint was virtually a sort of imprisonment. And Kasturbai was not the girl to brook any such thing. She made it a point to go out whenever and wherever she liked. More restraint on my part resulted in more liberty being taken by her, and in my getting more and more cross. Refusal to speak to one another thus became the order of the day with us married children. I think it was quite innocent of Kasturbai to have taken these liberties with my restrictions. How could a guileless girl brook any restraint on going to the temple or on going on visits to friends? If I had the right to impose restrictions on her, she not also had a similar right? Had she not also a similar right? All this is clear to me today. But at that time, I had to make good my authority as a husband. See what he said. This is the first paragraph of a chapter called Playing the Husband from the world famous book by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, the story of my experiments with truth, or my experiment with truth, my experiments with truth. Truth has many forms, but it's still singular. So, unless you make it deliberately plural, like many kinds of truths we encounter, and he will also talk about it. But having read about fidelity, having read about the duties of a husband at a premature age, this is what happens. So, how interesting and how enlightening, right? We do not begin with suspicion, the key point. Let not the reader think, however, that ours was a life of unrelieved bitterness. For my severities were all based on love. I wanted to make my wife an ideal wife. My ambition was to make her live a pure life, learn what I learned, and identify her life and thought with mine. I do not know whether Kasturbai had any such ambition. She was illiterate. By nature, she was simple, independent, persevering, and, with me at least, reticent. She was not impatient of her ignorance, and I do not recollect my studies having ever spurred her to go in for a similar adventure. I fancy, therefore, that my ambition was all one sided. What he is saying is that because she was not literate, she probably did not believe in or know of such a fight for equality. But she had an instinct, as we all know, and she rebelled against Gandhi when Gandhi forced her to clean the homes of the Dalits. So Kasturbai did have a voice. She also did have a conscience and a sense of the understanding of her own rights, as he himself has said, probably equality in that artificial way in which Gandhi is talking about. And there is a reason I have picked this chapter, because as a husband, Gandhi has faced several allegations. Very many leaders who dedicate their lives for the good of the masses of their country, for liberation, for world citizenship, face criticism from their family. He faced it, and from women, although he had many, many women followers. And we know his experiments regarding chastity and God knows what else that were brutal to Kasturbai. So look at the irony of these lines, my dear. He's a very revered figure. Today is Gandhi Jayanti. We'll just read some more and then we'll stop, because Gandhi is somebody we can talk endlessly about. My passion was entirely centered on one woman, and I wanted it to be reciprocated. We have to contextualize it. He's recollecting. These lines are being written many, many years later, perhaps as a justification. We don't know. But even if there were no reciprocity, it could not be all unrelieved misery, because there was active love on one side at least. I must say I was passionately fond of her. Even at school, I used to think of her. So in school, Gandhiji was thinking about his wife. And the thought of nightfall and our subsequent meeting was ever haunting me. Separation was unbearable. I used to keep her awake till late in the night with my idle talk. If with this devouring passion there had not been in me a burning attachment to duty, I should either have fallen a prey to disease and premature death, or have sunk into a burdensome existence. But the appointed tasks had to be gone through. A burdensome existence. But the appointed task had to be gone through every morning, and lying to anyone was out of the question. It was this last thing that saved me from many a pitfall. I have already said that Kasturbai was illiterate. I was very anxious to teach her. But lustful love left me no time. For one thing, the teaching had to be done against her will. And that too, at night I dared not meet her in the presence of the elders, much less talk to her. So it's going to be a long chapter. We'll keep reading it. So interesting, Gandhi recollecting his passion for his wife. He confesses he was thinking of this woman in school while studying, and he wanted to teach her, which is a noble idea. Of course, this is a man who believes in the equality of women, although he has been questioned for many of his experiments with, like I said, sexual practices, but still, he really believed in the empowerment of women. We will continue to read more. Thank you for hearing me. And do play the whole thing. Dear friends, let me know what you think of this. My humble effort to have a discussion with you on this classic called The Story of My Experiments with You. Thank you. Happy Gandhi Jayanti. इधर भी एक बनाया जाए जिसमें वो भी आ जाए.